So, today's lesson, we're going to talk about the cargo cult of religions, and specifically the religions of earth. And it's really important I say it this way because it breaks us out of our ego around religions. The aspect of life that our self identity is so wrapped up to the place on this planet where we are born is so well known, right? We have this in gangster rap with people repping their hoods. We have this in different people fighting for territories. We have this in different languages, the first religions we learn, the first things we learn. But the reality is that this cargo cult of religions is something that we can witness. For those of you who don't know, the cargo cult it was based in people who saw planes dropping supplies into the jungle, indigenous people. Then they worshiped the planes and the cargo that was dropped as God giving them things. And they didn't understand that humanity on a different part of this planet had evolved to the point of creating planes, all these supplies, and actually drop these supplies for people to receive. And this is what fundamentally is an issue with our religions today, because as a modern human being, we know the world is round. Now, we've known the world is round from almost the beginning of modern recorded history. But not only do we know the world is round, but for us to know what religion is the true religion, which is actually the wrong question, by the way, one would have to test all of them. You would have to test every single one. You have to go through each one separately and go through each practice and go, this is the one that works to explain God best for those who have trouble understanding God, for those who aren't speaking with God, those who aren't experiencing God, for those who don't understand that the all is something that we have always experienced. The religions that remove the denial of reality are the ones that work the best. And so you go, well, which one's the best working one? Right? You'd also say, of all the religions, which ones have brought the most peace, most love, most kindness, and removed the most pain and suffering, killed the most evils, right? Transformed the world to more light. And it's important we keep this in perspective when we start awakening. When we start going down the path of going, oh, wait, God has always been real. The question isn't if God is real. The question is God true? And how do we experience God? And what are the tools by which we experience God? Because we're talking about something that created all things. It created our nervous system. It created evolution. It created time. It created dimensionality. Right? It created the color purple. It created the vibration of the light that I see the color purple by. You're talking about the fundamentals of something that is infinite in all dimensions, as well as finite, as well as something that is beyond that, as well as an aggregate of all of that. That's why we define, at least those who are speaking as God, for God, within God, as the all. It's just an easier way of saying the all, because it bypasses a lot of our ego. Because it's very easy to go, do you believe in God? Well, yes, no, I don't know. When instead of, if we go semantically and describe it as go, God is the all. Do you believe in the all? Do you experience the all? Or you go, how do you currently experience the all today? And that builds a bridge to how do we experience God today. And we are only able to experience God today insofar as we are developed as an individual, in insofar as we are able to develop as a society, as a community, as a planet. And therefore, well, some people early on were able to deeply connect with God, and it has been reflected in the science. It's been reflected in society. It's been reflected in psychology of explaining how knowing God heals us, and how these tools heal us. It is the fact that people don't sit down and go, but what are we really trying to understand here? We go, for one religion, Jesus Christ is the only way to God. Not exactly. He said, I am. I am is Aheye, the same Aheye, I am, that Moses speaks about on the mountain. It's the same I am. It means I am identifying with God. My identity is love. My identity is oneness with the all. And then it flows down from God into this form. This is something that when we're raised in a healthy environment naturally comes to us. It almost becomes a second nature. When we are raised in an environment where this is not natural, people who go through awakenings have the most symptoms because they are unable to fathom how they've been always experiencing the all. The brain will find all these reasons for excuses for why certain things happen instead of expressing it as, oh, I'm experiencing the all and this is just what I experienced. The cargo cult of this is to go, we know God is real. There isn't a question of this. The question is how we semantically decide between different languages and organizations. The different languages of describing the all are nothing more than different parts of humans vibrating in different ways to express the all. The all is something that is absolute, self-evidently true, and thus objectively true. And that leads to the part where we go, what is true? When we have an objective foundation, we go, okay, God is true. Not just about real, it's true. God is true. What else is true? What else is infinite? What brought forth now? Right? The bigger questions. What brings forth now? What brought forth the beginning of beginnings, which created now? I did. This is where Yahshua as a prophet speaks as I am. And then in, for example, John, he goes, later I will speak plainly, meaning I will speak as the physical form I incarnated in, that you see as a human, rather than everything that exists in all places at all times in all moments. When a prophet does this, it's the way that the universe honors us, in the way that as a form we honor everyone around us as saying, if I were to do anything less than this, I would not be loving to you. This cargo cult is the thought that my identity is my religion, and it is not. Religion is a language. It is a fundamental language from a certain era through a certain time space that has certain qualities and tools. But the fact is that from God in, there are universal sciences we can stand on, specifically the scientific method, to start developing from a cargo cult culture to a culture of going and exploring the religions and understand what God was having ourselves in previous incarnations share through time, forward in time, and what to expect. The aspect of us that sits with this, when we share this, that gets challenged, goes, but you don't understand mine is the right one. That is universal for everybody who can say the word mine. Each religion has a piece. Each of them are explaining the same thing in different ways. For example, Aheye, I am. Yahshua is I am, right? A Buddhist who reaches enlightenment is being the same I am. Buddha mind. Only for their passage of their test, instead of becoming Yahshua as Christians are called to be, as Matthew 11:29 says, they are to honor the fact that even this aspect is to not almost be spoken about. Like the Tao that can be spoken of is not the true Tao. So when you see this, I want you to feel challenged. I want you to look inside and go, how many religions did I test before I saw the one that best explained how I experience God and or which brought me closer to heavening earth? There's all these different names that mean the same thing. When we sit and go, yeah, but Kabbalah is different than yoga because yoga is different than Qigong. It's just cargo culture. It's just not understanding. Humans experience God. Humans do things. Healthier life, better life. Caveman wisdom. Good is good, bad is bad. Tool work, tool good. The thought that some people think that in certain religions, oh, mantra is bad. You must never repeat lines that are blessing God over and over again. And in others, you must do this. And the fact is, did you test is the key to anybody with common sense. and that the results are really the important part. If you test it and it brings more heaven, are you not leaving the cargo culture of religions and start going and identifying with God? And what Franz Bardon, as one of the people who've documented this in an earlier form, would have called the universal religion. Pretty much that which we experience in the spiritual sciences we know to be true. When we look at things like this, we can develop better tools to remove depression, to remove poverty, to remove confusion, to remove mental illness. This is where we start going into other things and say, well, if the all is real and true, and it is, and that's objective, within it you have an objective truth and a subjective truth. And I speak about this in my Universal Enlightenment video. But through looking through this lens, once you can go through all the religions, then you can go back to one that maybe you were born with, like Judeo-Christianity. I now understand what God was doing with this. Not just what humans said forward from the human perspective and how much of God they could express forward through time through that recording and the practices. But now I understand what God was doing from this perspective and from the universal perspective, and what this tool actually does for us, and where we can start healing the confusion between things. I want you to ruminate on this. I want you to sit and think about this. Ask yourself, have I been conned into the cargo cult of a religion? Or have I sat and been with God and then started listening and understanding the universe around me, because it is required that I have a mind of my own to be with God. It is required, because that mind of my own is the mind of God. It is free, loving, and true. Without an infinitely loving, free, infinitely loving, infinitely true mind, then you are not being a healthy individual, and you're not able to sit with what God is, which is free, loving, and true in all dimensions. I emphasize this because I want you to find this, because this is love. Explaining this is love. The fact that I can speak to you on this device and you can Google every religion and you can literally spend the next 6 years or 6 months of your life examining not just the literature, but the actual practices that work, right? Don't get lost in the literature. Don't get lost in the historical recording of how the tools worked before. Go and use the tools. Go practice wearing the yoke, do the yoga, do the Kabbalah, do the meditation, do the recitation, do the hesychasm, do the Qigong, the Tai Chi. Go and actually be love in all things, and realize that it's quite easy. And that when you do this, that the differences that are between us dissolve. You start seeing that all we're saying is the same thing to each other and arguing in the tone we are needing to say it to each other, which is just silly. Hate is evil in all religions. Killing is evil in all religions. God is infinitely loving in all religions. That which is no longer able to be described as God, like Buddhism or Taoism, is still a way of embodying that which is beyond any way of vibrating in a vocalization, a physical location, a memorization, or living in any station. I'm putting this up on YouTube because it's a longer conversation. This is just a short lesson, because from here, when we see God as the all, we start experiencing God. And I speak as the I am. I'm speaking plainly today, but as the I am, I would say I am explaining how I brought forth the ways of myself through all of you. Now I expect you to love each other, because I am in every face of yours. I'm in every body. I'm in every tone, in every vibration. And when it's not in alignment, then you're missing the joy, the pleasure, and the miracles by which I am known for, which I cannot be denied by. And I want you to have those. I want you to have heaven on earth. This isn't some pie in the sky utopia. This is something that we work for. This is the great work of doing what all the religions in aggregate, or eventually when we let them all go, as has been prophesied in many works, including by Yeshua, including by Buddha. Even Taoism says it is not about what is written, it is about what is beyond. And being that, when we are these things, when we are one with these things, when we yoke to love, to God, to freedom, to truth, then it's easy. It's a matter of just being at peace with what I have made as myself, as creation, and being the creator and the creation in one, and accepting that I made it to be loved, to be enjoyed, and to celebrate. I pray that you see this. Pray that by watching this, something in you changes. And you realize that if you have selected any religion or damned a religion without going and practicing it, you've been a liar. You've been disingenuous. You have lived as a fool. You have insulted yourself and your own people of humanity on this planet. Because everybody is worthy of the truth, and the truth has to be lived and spoken from experience, as well as observed, tested, tried, and true. I hope this helps you on your path. I wish I could make this into a smaller soundbite. The fact is that without some deeper thought and wisdom and learning and education in these topics, one robs oneself of their light. And that is something that is tantamount to doing the most evil thing on earth, which is to stay in the dark. That is not what you're here to do. You're here to live as love. You're here to be truth. And as you do this, your words will echo out into a future for your future generations, for your children, your children's children, which are also you incarnated again in future generations, to build a world that as you come into and out of, is no longer a cargo culture. It is a world of wonder and joy meant to be celebrated. Thank you. I hope you guys really enjoy this. I hope that today you feel challenged, and that by that challenge you feel love, and by that love you feel growth. And that by doing it in this manner, this new way of teaching I'm trying out, of balancing both my I am space, myself as love, as who I am, that defies words, which even by describing I limit, but also by being myself as a physical form, and saying, I understand that you probably didn't do this work. You probably did not sit down and actually practice Buddhism for a month, and Taoism and Hinduism and yoga and Qigong and Tai Chi. You probably didn't even realize that your own religion has all of these same practices hidden inside of it, because there isn't a separation between any of them. Quite frankly, there isn't a separate religion. There's religion collectively, which we can call the religions. And that by knowing this, now you can never deny it. And I put you on a path, because once you have heard this, the onus is on you. And then you are judged on this. If you miss this, it is a sin. A sin means to miss the mark. Because otherwise you can't say I'm truly a Christian unless you've tested all of them. You can't say you're truly Jewish or Muslim or Hindu or anything. And you truly can't say you do anything but believe in a religion versus believing in God, unless you do this. And the purpose is to not just believe in God, because you're experiencing and knowing God, but to truly know God and believe what God is doing through you is for the greater good. That's where the true belief is as we know, we are God, we experience God, we talk with God. God speaks with us. Our experience of existence, these tools, God speaks with us. The illness that people think that God doesn't talk to us has to go away. Like, that's an insanity. That is truly an illness that has been spread. There are billions of people who speak with God. Be aware of this. If you are not one of those people, go and ask around and ask yourself if you're around people who deny that, or who sit and go openly, well, yeah, that's why I go to church. That's why I use the religious tools. That's why I practice these things, because God is so big. And I am kind of like a being that only understands things on a cargo cult level with God, considering the size of God and how much time I invest in that versus maybe my physical form's needs. But I have to do that so that I can at least get what everybody else could pass down through generations that seem to work really well for them. Versus those who can go and say, yeah, but now we have these better tools that improve the quality of our experience of our relationship with God. And I can just go to the religions or religion collectively and realize that that's a science, that's a blessing, that's a miracle. And that these tools now begin to heal the world to bring heaven on earth, the real Armageddon of accepting humanity as being on this big old beautiful ball that I made, and then put consciousness in everything. So you can see me in the flowers, in the trees, animals, and know that being in right relationship with me means that I'll not be killing people because I'm killing me if I do that. Not just on the outside, but on the inside. If I lie to you, I'm lying to me. If I covet something of yours, what I'm truly saying is I'm not being love. I'm not being God. I'm not being my true self. Quite frankly, I'm robbing myself of heaven, the suffering. When we de-cargo cult ourselves, we can start sitting with God and go, what are the things that help me feel God in all ways? Those are the tools. Those are the de-cargo cult religion tools that I transmit in my lessons, as well as in other lessons that I found to share with people who went before me, like people who would teach anthroposophy, theosophy. My personal favorite is Franz Barton. Not because it's perfect, but because until I teach myself these things, he didn't do a bad job of trying to be egoless and share the tools that he found universal within the religions of the world before he was murdered. And a martyr is something that we tend to really enjoy seeing in certain religions, and quite frankly, is abhorrent. It absolutely abhorred in others. The thought that we would kill anyone is abhorred in things such as Jainism, Hinduism, Buddhism. And yet others wish to justify doing something that is against a commandment, that is against me. If this brings out anything for you, this lesson, it's that you're allowed to question things. If you've not asked all the questions, time to begin. Thank you. Have a great day.